I'm Gab, he's Jules. Gray skies over West London. It's okay because we had nice weather for a good amount of time. Grayer skies still over Arsenal. Another 2 points dropped, and we'll get to the title race. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Obviously, Juventus absolutely humiliated. Real Madrid sneaked to the top of La Liga table for now. Joint level with Barcelona, of course, didn't play. Bayern, Munich, Bayer Leverkusen losing. All these teams in the Champions League, except for Real Madrid, generally finding it really hard, arguably even Real Madrid. But anyway, let's get into what traditionally should have been one of the biggest games, bringing back memories of Wenger versus Fergie, Patrick Vieira in the tunnel, first picking on little Gary Neville, and then Roy Keane gets in his face, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. And Ruud van Nistelrooy and like Monkey's Head getting into it, Martin Keown, all this stuff. And then you see this version today of these two teams. And I don't want to pick on Arsenal. Finished 1-1 because they've got a lot of mitigating circumstances, a lot of guys injured. United, even more players injured. I think Rasmus Højlund was the only non-child, only person of legal drinking age on the bench.
Yeah.
However, this is not a good game.
No.
It finished 1-1. It does have implications because the gap is now 15 points. And yes, Arsenal have a game in hand and they'll win that. And then they'll win at Anfield, maybe for this to happen. But then they would still need to make up 9 points in 6 games. And based on the Marcotti rule, that's not possible.
It's not going to happen now. I mean, I think we all know it. And Arsenal players or manager can still say, no, until the end, we will fight. It's good that they fight until the end and then they try to get as many points as possible. But they're never going to catch them. So
now, I had to ask about this because he obviously, like, it's part of the job. He knows it. He's a grown-up.
Of course, they have to say that.
But he gets asked the question. And eventually, though, you ask him the question so many times and the question of the striker, and he kind of glitches and says, all right, enough. Which he did in post-match. Is there anything to read into that?
No, they asked Declan Rice as well, and he said, no, until the end, we will
but
fight.
Declan Rice didn't walk out of the interview.
No, but
Mikel Arteta did.
Yeah, because I think there's a point where the answer is everybody knows that Liverpool have won the title. You just can't say it because mathematically it's not done. And as an Arsenal point of view, you need to try until the end to get as many points as you can. But there's just a limited amount of time you can repeat it.
Was that what annoyed him or the striker question?
No. I mean, the striker question. There's no point asking questions now when the windows is closed anyway. I don't understand why you keep asking.
Because you want him to say, "Yeah, we as a club made a mistake."
But I mean, again,
it's part of our job to ask the questions, right?
Yeah. But why asking the question again now?
So he can say, "We made a mistake. We'll do better next time."
But no, because they don't believe they made a mistake. Kai Havertz
they still don't believe they made a mistake.
But no, Kai Havertz was not injured when the window closed. He got injured. He could not have played every single minute of every single game. But if he doesn't get injured, he still plays most of the minutes. And then you find another way when you want to rest him.
Yeah.
So Watkins was the one they wanted. Could not happen because John Duran went to Al Nassr. And that was it. They didn't have any other players that they wanted.
Which was a mistake. And honestly, if they do not recognize that this was a mistake, this is not a mistake in terms of covering your bases, then I can't help you. I think maybe they don't want to say it's a mistake.
But they don't want people to help them. I don't know why you want to help them. They don't want anybody to help them. It's just a choice they made. They didn't think, they wanted Watkins or nobody. They could not get Watkins. They signed nobody.
So they made an internal mistake. I'm sorry.
I don't think so.
Okay, I do because...
But that's what you think. They don't think like that. So you think like that.
So they think wrongly in this case, in my view.
But in your view, this is not their view.
So, that's fine. But this is we're doing analysis and opinion. My analysis is they might not be in this position if they said we have some basic insurance because people go through the season, right? Why is Jakub Kivior at the club when you have Saliba and Gabriel so much better? Because somebody might get injured, blah, 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 right? In the center forward position. And look, this is not about Kai Havertz not being a 40-goal-a-season goal scorer. You know my thoughts on Kai Havertz. I think he's fantastic. I think he's phenomenal, right? But to go into a season in these circumstances, and I'm not just hammering them because they're Arsenal. I've hammered Chelsea for the same reason, right? How you would not have an alternative, even a cheap alternative. There's so many players who went on loan in January, just a body to have in certain situations, right? And I actually believe, no matter what they say, that internally they said, all right, we need to revisit this, how we build our squad for the future and learn from it. I don't need him to come out and...
I mean, they'll have a new sporting director, so they will have a new direction that they take with the new sporting director. Right. But in that case, they just thought they had enough. if they could not sign Watkins.
So much time on Arsenal because Mikel Merino again laid a turd and in a position that is not his own, in which he wasn't even really playing during the game. But we're going to talk Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes goal. There you go. Happens all the time.
Yeah.
All right. So first half, I think Arsenal clearly dominant every area of the pitch. Maybe didn't create as many chances because there was a big void up front where Mikel Merino should have been. And again, I don't blame him, but it is what it is. But I want to take it forward to Bruno Fernandes' free kick. And Ruben Amorim said after the game, we need more Bruno Fernandes. Yeah, can you imagine 10 of them running around the pitch? I don't want to bring it back to just one player because obviously these guys were injured. But yes, he's, to quote Rob Van Dam, he's the whole effing show. And
he makes a difference on his own, yeah.
And he does it, and he takes a free kick. And in this country, they made such a big deal out of the fact that the free kick was further away than it should have been. The wall, sorry. And the idea being, obviously, if the wall is further away, then it's actually easier. I mean, you don't want the wall... If the wall, it actually becomes easier to go and put the ball over the wall because just the angle at which you strike the ball, right? And it was because it was so far away. You also had a bunch of people in the way, and Onana doesn't see the ball. Sorry, not Onana. Raya doesn't see the ball leave. All right, is this a thing? This distance with the wall because they're like, "Ooh, it's 11.2 yards." I saw on my television.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people didn't even know what people. I think a lot of people don't even know what the distance should be.
It's 9 meters and 15 centimeters or so 10 yards.
Exactly. And to be fair, I think a lot of rules I think the referees not on purpose, but it's difficult for the referee with the steps to obviously, they can't measure a yard or a meter every step. But often...
We should get chains like in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly.
Like bring guys in to...
That's very true. But so I think very often the wall is a bit further out than 10 yards. In this case, the ball literally brushes over the head of Merino, who's in the wall. So you would think that if the ball had been at the right distance of 10 yards, then the ball would have hit Merino's face, obviously. Or his
Marino,
body.
who has the vertical leap of a rock.
Yeah, but being 11 yards behind the ball, it's just the ball brushes past his head. So if he's 10 yards, the ball hits him 100%. Right. But I still don't think that if the ball is closer, I think Bruno can also lift the ball over the wall. He adjusts his strike for where the wall is.
He just doesn't hit it as hard, though. I think that would be the argument.
Yeah,
right?
I'm not sure, but when you hit the free kick like this, you target the top of the head of the wall always. That's how you take those free kicks at that level.
I didn't take free kicks, so I
no, but that's why they do it. So he would have done it if they had been at 10 yard, 9 yard, 11 yard, 12 yards. I don't think for him would change much.
Well, no, it would change because you can't hit the ball as hard, right?
It's easier if it's 11 yards than 10 yards.
Harder, yeah. But for me, with the distance thing, unless you bring data and show that actually most of the time in the Premier League, the wall is between 9.8 and 10.2 yards, and this is 11.2, so it's a significant change. Unless you have this information, and there might be some nerd out there who collects this, I don't know. Yeah. Certainly no media does. You can't just introduce a number and it looks like a big number. Because like you said, it's referees, it's difficult for them to do and get it exact, right?
Yeah.
And at least I'm old enough to remember before the spray came in that it was basically, you see these ridiculous situations where, they would line them up.
The wall would move
and then the minute the referee moves, we were taught to do that when we played, course, right? You just start walking forward. And the referee can't be bothered to make you go back. And his perspective, he's got other things to do. So, and look, if in the end this means more goals, who cares? That isn't this supposedly what we want? I'm less concerned with that. After the break, I thought Arsenal's level really dropped. Yeah. They could have still won it with Odegaard.
Yeah.
I wonder a little bit the way Declan Rice celebrates after scoring.
Yeah.
Did he get confused about the score, you think? Or
I don't know. No, I don't.
I'm like, what are you celebrating, dude?
Well, when he's shushing the crowd and tell them to calm down. I don't know.
I don't know. What are you doing?
It was such a great goal that maybe he just, because it's such a lovely strike and lovely goal, and you come back, and I guess at that point, Arsenal think, okay, we're going to go and win this now. Because they had the momentum suddenly, although the end is a bit crazy. and both teams could have won it. I think he got maybe a little bit carried away with the celebrations.
I am not a David Raya guy, but I will hold my hand up because when facts change, opinions change. I think he's really, really good, and I think he's played really, really well. I think he saved Arsenal on multiple occasions this season, and he certainly saved them a point in this one. The Mazraoui save, the way he got up so quickly with that weird deflected Bruno shot, which then hit the crossbar and then came, or actually was hit the crossbar and then started coming back in. I'd be concerned at conceding so many chances because if you watch, it's not a case of Arsenal saying, all right, 1 point is pointless, there's no purpose to it, let's all go forward, and them getting caught out. It just really looked like a dip in level. It looked like they started getting sloppy.
A bit of sloppiness, maybe a bit of tiredness as well, I don't know. But United also played in midweek. Actually, United had
2 days, Thursday,
2 days less to recover for this game. Their press was inefficient in the second half, especially like the Mazraoui goal. It's really lovely build-up from United, Zirkzee, the 2 wing-backs, but Arsenal are just cut open by something quite simple. It's nicely done by United, but it's still quite... The movement and the triangles are quite simple, and yet Arsenal are cut open, literally, and Mazraoui should score. But defensively, they haven't been... They keep conceding goals all the time. They had a clean sheet against Forest, but before that they conceded against PSV, against West Ham, again in this game. So defensively, it's not as strong as it used to be.
Against PSV, that's down to one person, Thomas Partey being stupid. So
but they also conceded chances. Saibari at 0-0 should have scored every day. So defensively, they're certainly not as strong as they used to be, and same on set pieces. They're not as strong as they used to be, and they're not as efficient as they used to be on set pieces too.
Let's talk United. Once again, we're looking for signs of progress, and does it? All right. So he made the Zirkzee instead of Højlund call. A completely different profile. Højlund came on, again, showed he is not the most clinical of strikers on several occasions. But again, maybe it can be nerves, confidence, whatever it is, right? Højlund really was the only guy they had on the bench. It was Højlund and Lindelof, right? In that second half, when you got Eriksen, Casemiro, and Lindelof on the bench, right? 2 guys who are...
On the pitch.
2 guys who are leaving. Another guy who you would wish would leave, but is still there.
Yeah.
I mean, just even getting players to follow instructions and execute, it's just got to be difficult, right?
Yeah.
Can we give them a little pass for that?
Yeah. It's not ideal. But again, they played in a very defensive way, without the ball a lot.
That's when they're at their best under Amorim.
Exactly. And he said, to be fair, the credit to Amorim, he said after the game, we can't play like this. This is not Manchester United, especially at Old Trafford. And I think he knows. Right now, they just do with, because in those games against City, against Liverpool, against Arsenal, where they got a win and 2 draws in 2025. This is pretty good in itself. That's the only way they can play. If they try to play differently, they're going to get battered by those 3 teams. So they play quite low, quite defensively, 30% of the ball, which for a United team at Old Trafford is pretty bad. But this is all they can do right now, I think. So it kind of worked. It could have worked better. The Højlund chance right at the end, the Rice tackle. The Rice tackle is wonderful, of course it is. But you see Højlund on confidence, or any striker in confidence, just buries that chance. Instead, he's waiting, and it's too late, and he waits too long.
I want to go back to Zirkzee a minute. He's obviously, we've said many times, an unorthodox striker. Is he winning you over? Are you starting to maybe think that maybe his future is not just at United, but at United up front? If you get enough goals from the number 10 position, rather than a 10?
That's it.
You think it's center forward, it's not number 10?
No, I think he can play both, depending on who is the 10, who's the 9 that can play with him, that he can play behind. Højlund, I don't think he's the answer, because I just don't think he's good enough right now. But if they get another 9, I think Zirkzee can easily play behind 9. But if you play him as the 9, and you get the right players behind him, then that's great.
So a dynamic goal-scoring 10 like Christian Eriksen?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's perfect combination. But no, and we have been big fans because we've seen Bologna more than anybody else probably in this country, or more than a lot of people. For the likes of Mark Ogden, who don't like him, who it's true, diss him all the time. There's a great player there. If you play on his strength, it's always the same. But right now, United can't really play on his strength because they don't have an attacking structure put together yet. When they do that, I think it could be very good for them.
I think the difficult thing is, I agree, he can be a great player when they play on the strengths. The question is, can he be a great enough player that you build a team to play around his strengths?
True.
That's the question mark, right?
Yeah.
Xerxes throughout his career has basically had 2 good seasons when the team was playing to his strengths. Yeah. The rest of the time, he's been subpar. And maybe it is because he's so unusual. I do feel, though, that next season, if Amad Diallo returns, if you have a rotation at number 10 of Bruno, because I just do not want to see him in front of the back four, of Bruno, Diallo, and Xerxes, and then obviously you need a center forward, and maybe it's Højlund and somebody else. I think that's okay. I'm all right with that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then the real issue becomes Ugarte, whatever happens in front of the back four. I foolishly perhaps believe that Ugarte and Meno, there's a structure there. No, I think you need multiple bodies in there. But come on, United fans, you're well placed in the Europa League, right?
Yeah, well, they're going to finish the job against Real Sociedad on Thursday, so they should. Real Sociedad were terrible at the weekend too, and then after that they could face Lyon in the quarterfinal, which would be really, really interesting game. The problem is always the same, Gabby, is that if they're set up to defend more than attack, to have less of the ball than the opponent, they can go along because they've got enough individual quality.
But if they meet a defensive counter-attacking team,
they will struggle.
Then they're gonna be in trouble.
Exactly.
All right, enough Arsenal. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, Gab.
Liverpool are now 15 points clear at the top of the table as they come from behind to beat Southampton 3-1. Jules, they get it done, but Arne Slot was furious, and he blasted the work rate in the first half. He actually said he made 3 changes at halftime. Off came Tsimikas, off came Szoboszlai, off came Curtis Jones, on came Robertson, McAllister, and Harvey Elliott. And asked about the change, he says, I made them because of the work rate, which suggests to me he's saying these guys kind of mailed it in the first half.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised to hear that when you're flying, when you've got a huge game coming up in the Champions League.
Yeah. I think they took that game for granted a little bit, and maybe when you've played so much and you're so clear of Arsenal and everybody else, when you've been so dominant, and you play a team that is as bad as Southampton, because I know Southampton took the lead in this game, but they are some of your friend, are just terrible. They're such a bad team. So I can see why he was not happy. The players maybe took that game a little bit lightly, which they shouldn't. You should not do that, whatever level you're playing at. And he got a little bit better in the second half, but still 2 penalties from Mo Salah. They were penalties, and Sugawara gave 1 penalty away in this game, gave 1 penalty away in the reverse fixture in Southampton too, after he came on, which Liverpool won with difficulties too. So, yeah, it's just a game that you forget very quickly.
I have not spoken to Arne Slot about this, but I think he is concerned, and I keep banging this, about fatigue, about players being tired, about not being as sharp, and losing focus. And I think he's delighted, obviously, they're 1-0 up against Paris Saint-Germain, but I think he's not taking anything for granted, and that's why he's turning the screws.
Yeah. Atalanta destroy Juventus away 4-0. Gab, what happened to that revival that some were talking about recently?
Oh, yeah. Oh, look, it's a 4-way race. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the hell it is. 0.1 expected goals from Juventus in the first half at home. Look, you run out of things to say, right? When you got a coach who not only does the football not quite work, he seems determined, and then this goes beyond Thiago Motta. We can throw Thiago Motta under the bus for saying stupid things, like afterwards he says, well, we started bright, but that penalty should have never been a penalty.
It's a bit hard. The penalty was a little
Weston
bit harsh.
McKennie's arm is above his head. That's not harsh in football. That is a penalty every day of the week. But how do you have the ball? How do you have the gall to come out and say this when you have 0.1 expected goals in the first half and you do nothing in the second half and you lose 4-0 at home and you're talking about a penalty? Come on.
I know.
Seriously? Look, there's so many issues here. It's not just down to Motta, it's down to Cristiano Giuntoli and the way he built this team. And then, of course, he makes it worse because you sign the wrong players and you play them in the wrong position. I don't need to see Teun Koopmeiners on the wing. No. It's just not something I need to do. If you're going to bring on Vlahovic, why 17 minutes? Why not bring him in 2-0?
Yeah.
No, he should be starting anyway, but that's a whole other issue. Anyway, a lot of things he got wrong. Tremendous from Atalanta. So nice to see the big smiley hug between Gasperini and Ademola Lookman.
Yeah.
They're good. Vincent Kompany sends out the B team, and Bayern fall at home to Bochum 3-2 as João Palhinha gets sent off. Jules, they may be 3-0 up against Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League. Performances like this, even though it's the reserves, do not fill me with confidence.
They were down to 10 men after 40 minutes, though. So I know the second half was poor, although they could easily also have scored in that second half, even with 10 men. But yeah, it's not good, I guess.
The vibe is bad, Jules.
Yeah, true.
These guys who are on the pitch, it's like you think like, oh, look, let me prove Kompany that I deserve to be in the team.
Yeah, but maybe they also know that they're not going to play anyway the second leg against Bayer Leverkusen, and they're not going to play much now that they've been cruising in the league, or they're going to play those kind of games against Bochum or Kiel or those kind of teams. I don't know what happened. I still think they're going to qualify to the Champions League in that second leg away at Leverkusen. It's not going to be too difficult for them to navigate because Leverkusen are not in great shape either, we will see later. But it was still a bit of a shock, you're right, when you 2-0 up and Bayern at home. Whether it's B team, 10 men, 9 men, 11 men, you can't lose to Bochum.
I'll be there. I'll let you know how it goes at the Bayern Arena.
Marco Correa's second half strike gives Chelsea all 3 points at home to Leicester as Cole Palmer misses a penalty along the way. Gab, Enzo Maresca says fans can't always expect PlayStation football.
Well, they're certainly not going to get it right now the way they're playing. They're tired. They miss Nico Jackson. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you can try Neto up front and Kunko up front. You don't have a center forward. It affects you. Cole Palmer, he had the flu. He didn't train. He demanded to play. He missed it's his first penalty miss after 12 straight. I don't have an issue with him. But when you have people in those conditions, Wesley Fofana playing right back, all these things, this is not a team that's well. Now, that said, they were not good. Credit Leicester, they went mega defensive, and for a long time it worked. We're not done, Jules. We have more quick hits.
Yes.
Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius both get on the score sheet as Real Madrid down Rayo Vallecano 2-1. Jules, not the greatest performance, but as Carlo Ancelotti points out, most of the sides involved in the Champions League either drop points or had to come from behind.
Yeah, absolutely. We said it often enough on the show. It's sometimes difficult when the Champions League is back-to-back. Like it is this week, and you have to play your league game, whoever it is, against home or away. It's never easy at all, whether you rotate or not. It's always a bit tricky, and Rayo are a good team this season, really, really good team.
I mean, they had a lot of players out. They still took the game to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Were you surprised that Real Madrid actually got, in the second half, he took off, I think it was Rodrigo for Valverde, and then later Vini for Camavinga, I suppose to protect the lead.
Yeah.
Rational thing to do. The Bernabeu, they nearly had a pañolada. They're booing and booing.
Yeah, they were not
Are you
happy
okay with
at all.
that?
I think they were not happy by the performance overall too, Gab. And as you said, they didn't play great.
They saw Vinicius and Mbappe score.
Yeah, 4 minutes apart. But that was pretty much... I mean, we didn't see much more than that. I thought Tchouaméni was really good in midfield. Having a lot of work to do when he starts with Modric like that. But I guess they could kind of complement each other quite well. But the most important is that they just took the 3 points.
There's no other club in the world where this happens, where you're top of the league and you're winning and you get booed.
Get booed. Nottingham Forest on going away, Gabby. They beat Manchester City 1-0 on Saturday to stay third in the table. And it's still an uphill battle for Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, so they had that run where they lost 1 million games in a row. We're always quoting that score, or that stat, like, oh, look, they've lost 11 of their last 13 or whatever it was. So this is supposed to be the revival where they move back up the table. They've lost 6 of their last 14.
Yeah.
Credit to Nottingham Forest. Erling Haaland, 17 touches in this game, 2 shots, neither one on target. You've given him a 10-year contract.
3 touches in the box. 3 touches in the Forest box, man.
I mean... we thought, all right, Pep's got his biggest priority is fixing the defense. Biggest priority is figuring out the midfield. We don't know when Rodri comes back, what condition he's going to be in. No, now it's how do I get service to this guy that the club have committed their future on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to diss Haaland, although he wasn't great.
No.
But you've got all this talent around you. There's Foden and Bernardo Silva and Savinho and whatever.
Doku.
And you can't get him the ball?
I know. I mean, Foden had 3 touches in the Forest box too. So it's not even that the ball doesn't get to Haaland in the box. The ball doesn't really get much in the box, full stop.
Yeah, and to be clear, Forest may be defensive, but it's not like they had Murillo and Milenkovic lined up at bouncers and physically ejecting people whenever they approach the box.
It was comfortable for them.
Paris Saint-Germain beat up Rennes away 4-1. The last 2 from Ousmane Dembele came in garbage time. Although he's now scored more this season in all competitions than he has in his previous 5 years combined.
Yeah.
Jules, how are you feeling ahead of the trip to Anfield on Wednesday?
I'm very excited by this game. They played the B team against Rennes and they still played great football. Yeah, they scored 2 late goals with Dembele, but they should have been 4-5-0 up already before that. And with the B team, I thought was impressive. So they literally everything from a PSG point of view is all the lights are green, everything. They're going there with no fear, I think, with the desire. I'm not sure if they will do it, but certainly the desire to take the game to Liverpool and to impose their style like they did in the first leg. I think it's going to be very difficult. Not many teams can go to Liverpool or to another top club and play their game when the game is like this. You think the Liverpool and the club, the Barcelona and the Guardiola, and the City and the Guardiola, those kind of teams go away and they play home or away exactly the same way and they are as good and as dominant home or away. I'm not sure if this PSG team can do that right now. They're still very young, but they will try for sure. And Liverpool have to be ready because if Liverpool play at the same level as they did on Saturday or last week in Paris, they might get knocked out by this team.
They will get knocked out if they play the same level.
It's going to be fascinating, but we expect Liverpool to play much better, to be more aggressive, to be better against the press and with their own press. So it won't be the same game, but PSG will try for sure.
I'm not sure Slot expects that, which I think he's really preparing.
I agree. Milan go 2-0 down away at Lecce and then an own goal and 2 from Christian Pulisic in the space of 22 minutes. Turn it around. Gab, is it fair to say that Pulisic saved Sergio Conceição's job?
100%, because while it is an embarrassment for a club like Milan to potentially have 3 coaches in the same season, you cannot lose. It would have been 4 defeats in a row.
Yeah.
And by the way, the game before that, not a defeat, was that horrendous home draw with Feyenoord, which saw them knocked out of the Champions League. So yeah, very much hanging by a thread. I don't think the fans would have allowed Sergio Conceição to continue in those circumstances. Look, you can say, I don't think Milan were not terrible in this game. They did create chances. It was funny because the goal that made it 2-1. They bring on João Felix. Finally, the guy doesn't start.
And Leao.
But Leao, whatever, is a different outfit. João Felix, it's really nobody likes him. He's combination of Captain Buzzkill and Debbie Downer. He goes on the pitch. He's involved in the second goal. How? Because he has an open chance. Mr. Technical scuffs it into the path, goes off the defender, goes in. Then Pulisic wins a penalty. Then Pulisic scores the winner off a Rafael Leao goal. So they live to fight another day. Cross, obviously. But yeah, I don't know how you get out of it because seriously, you have a problem. João Felix, you can ship back. Fine.
Yeah.
Conceição, he's got to see you through the end of the season. Hopefully, they muster some pride. Hopefully, the other pieces perform. There were some improvements in this game. With Barcelona's game against Osasuna being postponed due to the tragic passing of the team doctor, Atleti had the chance to go top of La Liga. And they even took the lead against Getafe thanks to the only living sore loss in captivity, converting a penalty given for one of the most dubious handballs I've seen in a long time. But then in the second, they got Bordelast.
Completely by Getafe, who Getafe them to be fair. And I think once they took the lead, you think, okay, they haven't played great at all. It was a bit tricky. Getafe are one of the most defensive, if not the most defensive team in Europe, as always. But they've done the hardest bit now, and yet they switched off completely. And they let them back into the team. And to drop 3 points like this is unacceptable, completely unacceptable. And again, we talked about Bayern's form before the second leg, Leverkusen. later. This is not good before hosting Real Madrid when you're 2-1 down after the first leg.
And by the way, in case you don't follow Atleti closely, it's not like he changed the whole team.
No, not at all.
They played the B team, ahead of the Madrid derby in the Champions League.
Gab, Napoli and their winless streak with a 2-1 win over Fiorentina. They're only 1 point behind Inter now in Serie A.
They did, and the good news is Lukaku, a goal and then assist. He finally shows up.
Yeah.
That said, they were devastating in the first half. I thought they played really, really well.
De Gea made some really good saves.
Yeah, De Gea also spilled it for the first one, but whatever. But after the break, again, it's this whole let's be intense, let's hang on. You invite the Fiorentina pressure that could have cost you. You cannot have that. You have to have a 90-minute performance if you're going to take Inter to the wire. Oh, and by the way, Conte's saying, how to win friends and influence people. He's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what's happening here is not normal. Nobody ever talks about it. I've lost my best player, referring to Kvaratskhelia, and he wasn't replaced. Thank you, Okafor. So I've got other players who are injured. And nobody talks about it. It's not normal. It's not normal what's happening here. No, dude, it is normal. Look at Arsenal's injury list. Look at Manchester United's injury risk. Look at Barcelona's injury list earlier this year. Was Hansi Flick there pulling his real hair out of his head at the start of the season because Gavi was out and this one was out and then Martinez? No, just deal with it and get on with it.
Yeah, he loved doing stuff like that.
Xabi Alonso called it a poo day. He didn't say poo. He said something else, which I can't say here, for Bayer Leverkusen. Not only do they not take advantage of Bayern's defeat and lose 2-0 at home to Werder Bremen, but Florian Wirtz comes on and gets injured and is out from the Bayern game.
Yeah, well, he lost could be a bad injury. He left on crutches, I think. They considered a goal early, and after that, just could not find a way. He made loads of changes again. We've said that before. Sometimes the changes are good. We're not saying to never rotate, but very often in his case, he makes a mess out of it completely tactically with the players that he chooses, the positions that they play, and it didn't make much sense against a solid Werder Bremen team, but not a great team either. Inter need to come from 2 goals down against bottom of the table Monza to win 3-2, Gab.
Yeah, so obviously Inter are also thinking ahead, looking ahead to the Champions League, to that return leg against Feyenoord. Look, they go 2 goals down to a ridiculous back heel from Dani Mota to set up Deli for the first goal. Then Keita Balde, remember him? No, he hasn't retired. The erstwhile wunderkind everybody thought was going to become one of the greatest players in the world. And he turns into a 30-year-old journeyman. That's football. But he can still hit them, as we saw. And then they buckle down, and then they come back. Bastoni, I thought, was phenomenal.
Çalhanoğlu's goal.
Çalhanoğlu, who can barely walk when he's off the pitch. Yeah. He basically shoots himself up with painkillers and comes on, once again showing just how important he is to this Inter team. They have an absolute ton of resilience to go with their quality. Another game, another comeback as Tottenham go from 0-2 down to 2-2 against Bournemouth. Jules, this was one-sided and had a lot to do with some Kepa mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say Andoni Iraola, the winner on points in terms of coaching.
And in his post-match interview, The Flash, you could see how better he was to have dropped 2 points, but he's so nice that he was never going to say, obviously. So he said, we're a bit frustrated because really, if you look at the game, we are by far the best team, and I felt for him a little bit because they easily could have won this game 4-0, okay, maybe 4-1, but they were only 2 goals up when they could have been 2 goals up after 5 minutes in this game. They started
Thank you, Cuti Romero, by the way. First game back, and this is what he does.
That's a terrible mistake. Vicario saving Spurs twice early on, and then more through the first half. Yeah, more through the first half. But Bournemouth was so good overall, as they've been all season. This is nothing new. It's not just they go to Spurs, but in a stadium where Ipswich won, where Leicester won, it's no surprise that Spurs are again second best, and they got battered for most of it. They only came back because Sarr crossed the ball that ended up as a shot in the goal where Kepa probably should have done better, and then Kepa gave away a stupid penalty that he should have never. He came out so far from his goal. There's just no need for him to go that far, and Spurs scored, but that was pretty much it. I think it's very, very poor from Spurs, very poor from Postecoglou.
But it's really weird. I get the whole playing your own game, but to make 0 adjustments against Bournemouth.
I know, but it's always been like that. I just don't know. That's where I don't see the direction where the Spurs team is going.
Maybe they retired from the Alkmaar game.
Maybe. Gab, you kept saying that Borussia Dortmund had a duty to believe they could get back in the top 4 and qualify for Champions League next season. Do you still believe that after their 1-0 home defeat to Augsburg on Saturday?
So, to be clear, they have a duty to believe. I do not. And now...
You never really believed it, I believe.
No, I thought they did. They have really good players. They have the second or third highest wage bill. They're not that far away. Look at the teams in front of them and how inconsistent they are.
That's true. Only one team of that top 10 won this weekend, and that was Mainz.
It was freaking Mainz.
Yeah, it was not very good.
Who are third in the table, by the way.
Yeah. Respect to Mainz.
But this was really bad because Augsburg are going to defend soundly, especially after taking the lead. And they had like 70% possession. And Dortmund managed one shot on target.
Yeah.
Their XG is 1.12 because they take a lot of shots against a defender standing there. You need something else. I mean, Kovac needs to give a spark. Now, again, do we want to give them the benefit of the doubt? Let's not forget, they're another team who, of course, have a Champions League return game to go to. And unlike, say, Arsenal, theirs is very tight against Lille. But still, there's just it just feels so flat.
Yeah, completely.
And, yeah. I don't, at this moment, I don't believe they're going to make top 4.
Okay, thank you.
This was way back on Friday, but that late João Pedro penalty gave Brighton a 2-1 win over Fulham. Jules, they're 6th. 1 point behind 5th place City. Can you imagine Brighton and Hove Albion? Little Brighton and Hove Albion in the Champions League.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. The only exciting thing right now in the Premier League is the battle for who's going to finish probably 4th and 5th. 5th will qualify for Champions League because 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, unless something dramatic
you're ready
happens.
to annoy Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, unless something bad happens. But because they defend so well, they will get there, I think. And you've got loads of teams that can finish 4th and 5th with Chelsea and City and Brighton and still Bournemouth and Villa as well, probably. So
Newcastle,
I forgot, who play on Monday. This win, by the way, from Brighton was Saturday. Gabby just confused all the days of the weekend and stuff.
It's easy to do.
We watched too many games. And to be fair, it was quite a tight game, and I felt a little bit for Fulham for that late penalty from João Pedro. But Brighton, after being a bit inconsistent and up and down, no wins in 8 at some point after the turn of the year, really consistent now in the way. Maybe not in always the way they play because they are still very attacking, so they concede chances too. But in terms of results, for sure.
Yeah, boy Fabian Hurtzler, he's growing up.
I know, he's growing up. Matthias Soule scores straight away in the first minute, and Roma win away, and Empoli 1-0. Gab, they've won 6 in a row now, and are up to 6th place. More magic from Claudio.
I think so.
Lovely.
I think given where they were when they took over, with the weird things that happened in the transfer window, given the fact that, and people can go and giggle about this, but for Roma, the Europa League this year, as it should be for Spurs, it's huge.
Yeah.
They had a really tough game against Athletic Bilbao, who are a really good team. And so obviously he mixes things up. I'd completely forgotten about Matthias Soule, their big summer signing.
He came on against Bilbao and did really well when he came on. Yeah.
And he's rediscovering him. Mats Hummels all of a sudden looks like he's turned back the clock. And it's a big win. It's a big win. They could have had more later.
It's an expected win too, because Empoli are just Empoli.
It's on the road, and it's in between. On the road, in between knockout European ties, I think nothing is expected, especially when you make so many changes. Pellegrini also coming close to scoring, and it's nice to see him productive again. Yeah, Roma could maybe even think of qualifying for the Champions League, possibly rising up the table. Why not? And by the way, shout out to Abdul Hamid. I don't want to hear any more people making fun of footballers from the goal. No, the guy's look. Is he Roberto Carlos?
No. He's the backup. Yeah, he's the backup right back.
But he very rarely makes mistakes.
Yeah, that's true.
And he gives you stuff going forward.
Yeah.
Freiburg and Leipzig battle to a scoreless draw. Jules, it's a tough away trip, but it's also one win in their last 9 games for your buddy Marco Rose.
Yeah, I mean, I only watched the highlights. I refuse to watch Leipzig anymore over 90 minutes, just so you know. Because
it hurts your eyes to see the SOS treated so badly.
Exactly, it's painful. We've said many times, I don't think Marco Rose should still be the manager. I don't know how he's still on the bench, considering how very average they've been this season, certainly very up and down, and a lot of down lately.
Jurgen Klopp is still going through his induction I think in his role
as well.
He's traveling around the world. He gave an interview the other day about.
It was in Brazil or somewhere where he's like.
It was in Brazil before. I don't know where he is. He gave an interview where he's like, where like the big takeaway was like, these are the players I wanted to sign when I was at Borussia Dortmund. It's like, dude, nobody cares. Nobody, like, honestly, not even Dortmund fans care about this. This is so media managed. I want the real Jurgen Klopp back.
Yeah, I'm not sure we'll have him back.
I don't know. I don't know if they'll let him do the job. I don't know if he wants to do the job. I don't mean the job of managing Leipzig, but the job at least of appointing the Leipzig coach.
Because like this has to stop with Marco Rose. They're not going anywhere, and I'm sure they will do in the summer. But even now, you can, one win in 9. Come on, Gab. Who is Antonio Arena, and why are we talking about him?
So he's an Australian kid of Italian descent, which is why he plays for the Italy under-16s. He only turned 16 years old last month.
Wow.
And he came on and scored on his debut for the mighty Pescara in a 4-1 win over Lucchese. This is in the Italian third division. I think he's the youngest goal scorer in a long time in
professional level.
Yeah. It's time! It's Texter time! Jules, huge road win against Nice, who were third in Ligue 1, and flying for JT and his Olympique Lyonnais team in the derby of suspended managers, Frank Hayes and Paulo Fonseca. By the way, the fact that they're both suspended and they're both there hugging each other before kickoff, this is ridiculous. Suspended managers should not be allowed to be there.
No, I agree.
That's my piece.
I mean, the other funny, so we saw them hugging each other and people found it lovely.
Was sure Fonseca didn't try to headbutt him?
No, but the best thing was when the Lyon coach arrived in the at the Allianz Riviera Stadium and parked, and the players got off the bus to go into the dressing room. Fonseca was left on his own in the bus because he's obviously not allowed to go into the dressing room. And then I guess he just waited a little bit before going up to take his seat in the stadium. So he was there on his own, on the coach, when all the players had left because he's not allowed in the dressing room. And Nice literally battered Lyon for an hour. Just could not score a goal. Lyon, I think, had one shot in the first hour from 30 yards or something. And then...
the Ryan Cherky show. He's about to be called up for Italy against Germany the next break.
Soon to be Italian international Ryan Cherky comes on. First touch, scores a goal. Great ball by Thiago Almada, who started. And I think the Almada-Cherky partnership looks very exciting, although it won't last long because Ryan Cherky is going to leave the club in the summer. But between now and the end of the season, certainly I think we will see a lot of them. And then they scored a second goal later. Lovely goal by Nuama, by the way, on another assist by Thiago Almada. So very good from the young Argentine. And a massive win, by the way, for Lyon. In that, again, Chase, I think it's going to be very exciting, a bit like in the Premier League or in Germany or in a lot of countries or in Italy to see who finishes in the top 4 in France.
By the way, Nice, I think they'd won 4 in a row, something like that.
And they were on great form.
And they could have been second in the table. And it's funny, do Nice get better the minute that Sir Dave Brailsford and his friend Jim Ratcliffe start paying more attention to United and less attention to Nice?
Maybe this is not a coincidence. Gab, fathers and sons in Serie A. The list continues. Louis, I guess, right?
I have no idea how he pronounces it.
I'm not sure if you said yes in kind of Czech Italian.
Yeah, the mom is Czech, the dad is Italian.
Yeah, because Louis is not really Italian either.
No, it's not an Italian
Luigi,
name.
Right?
That's right. Gigi did, of course, spend some time in Paris, although that was many years after he was born.
Yeah,
so
let's call him Louis. Louis Buffon. Louis Buffon makes his debut for Pisa, who are second in Serie B. His dad is obviously the legend Gigi Buffon, but he's opted to play, as we've just saying, for his mum's country, Czech Republic.
Yeah, which is fine. It's his call. I mean, he was born in Italy, grew up in Italy. Can I be a little bit unkind here?
Well, it might not be good enough to play for Italy. That's why he's choosing Czech Republic.
If I wanted to play international football and I wasn't as good at playing football as my dad was, and I had the option to play for an Italian country, and my mom was a former Miss Czech Republic, which Elena Sedorova is, I might be tempted to pick Czech Republic too. I mean, I don't know. He can wait and see. He said this so far, and obviously they were together. They did split. So I don't quite know what the story is growing up, but Yeah, it's funny too because he doesn't. I think he looks totally like his mom.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah, well, I guess.
No disrespect, Gigi.
No disrespect, Gigi.
Roberto De Zerbi drops Mason Greenwood, but it doesn't help as Marseille contrive to lose at home to Lens, conceding an injury time goal. Jules.
Yeah, they were. They were really bad the first half. But Marseille under De Zerbi have been pretty bad first halves. I don't know why this happens. I think it's maybe 9 games in a row in the league where they don't score themselves. They have 0 goal at the break. For a team like this, with all the talent that he has, this is poor. Greenwood came on at half-time to make the team better. And L'Equipe's ratings only... So if you start, they give you a rating of 10. If you don't start but come on at half-time, they rate your second half still. They gave him 2 out of 10 for that second half. Greenwood was just... I don't know what's the best way of describing it. He looked just not interested of playing that game.
Wasn't De Zerbi mean to him before?
No.
Before, didn't he say like he was going to drop him and he's like...
But he was not happy with his effort, he said. But then, would that make you unhappy? You, as a player, you would know, right? If you really put the effort in or not. And I think Mason Greenwood is good enough at football to know, okay, yeah, I haven't really been putting the weight in and stuff like that. So I don't know, but he was so bad that at some point I thought he's going to take him off again because literally Marseille were playing with 10 men and De Zerbi didn't do it. He stayed until the end of the game. Lens scored late. Will Steele, whose partner, who we both know is unwell, so we send our best wishes. And he looked really affected because he spent a lot of time in London before this game to be with her naturally. So it's a win that I think meant a lot to Will Steele, to Lens, to the players, to the fans, to everybody. And to win in Marseille is not a given either. They're second in the table and Lens had been going through a really bad patch. So well done to them. But from De Zerbi and Greenwood, it's a lot of thinking to do now before the game next weekend, which is away in Paris against PSG. So good luck with that one. Gab, we like to check into this story periodically, although I don't think we've done it for a while. Remember the £2.5 billion that Todd Boehly and Clearlake paid to buy Chelsea Football Club? They were supposed to, that money was supposed to go to charity at some point for the war in Ukraine, but hey, it's still sitting in Roman Abramovich's accounts.
Yeah, I just find this absolutely extraordinary. It's been, 3 years now?
Yeah.
Think of all the money. And we're talking like just back of envelope calculation. We're talking like 250 million, 300 million, just an interest alone.
Yeah.
Accumulated. Of course, I'm going to blame lawyers at the heart of this. I actually met, because he's a friend of a friend. I met at a party. Met Roman Abramovich's longtime lawyer. He's a Belgian guy, and he was just kind of explaining like what this.
But so who's blocking what? Because is this Roman Abramovich who just wanted to keep the money for himself?
No, he does not want to keep them.
So who's blocking what?
So basically, they have the way it was explained to me is obviously the sanctions happened in Ukraine. The UK government, like other governments, like European Union, they had a policy saying, okay, well, we're going to freeze club assets. We're going to freeze the assets of people we think have ties to Putin, to Putin and the Russian government. So they freeze the money, and they make it clear they're going to freeze the money before he even sells Chelsea, right? He was kind of sort of forced to sell Chelsea in a way, right? And he says, well, guys, rather than just freezing the money in my account where, one day will be unfrozen, to work a deal, perhaps to stave off potential prosecution. You didn't quite know the way things were gonna work out. He said, let's put this money into my foundation or into a foundation where it can go to the victims of the war in Ukraine. And the UK government says, oh yes, great idea, let's do that, right? So that's what everybody reported. That's where Clearlake's money, and to a much lesser degree, Boehly's money went, and whatever. So, but then afterwards, he says, well, wait, the victims of the war in Ukraine, not just Ukrainians, but there are other victims because, of course, there's Russian speakers in the Donbass, or whatever his point was, right? And the government says, no. It has to go only to official Ukraine charities, whatever. And they say no. And there's no legal mechanism. They didn't think to draw up a legal agreement before to govern this. Yeah. So honestly, whoever these lawyers are, whoever government officials, this is such a cack-handed way of doing things. This money is still just sitting there. If you're just going to take the money from him, put him on trial, and expropriate it.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They just froze the accounts. They did this cockamamie deal. And look, whatever your views are in Ukraine, this money is intended for this purpose. And it is just sitting there, and it has to be absolutely infuriating. Yeah. And the fact that lawyers are getting paid over this, again, you know my views.
Yeah, I know.
It's just downright unfair and unjust. And I don't know. I can just say it's like it is really a shameful situation and one that should be avoided. El Nasser and El Shabab draw 2-2, which basically means El Nasser are definitely not winning the title. But Cristiano Ronaldo scores again. 24 goals for him this year in all competitions. And we have another one of those Fugazi off-brand stats designed to get him in the
ones
news.
You love, the one that you really love.
The ones which are so stupid.
I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo scored 463 goals, so 463, before he turned 30. And then he has now scored 463 goals, so the same amount, exactly 463, since he turned 30.
How about that? That is absolutely fascinating.
Fascinating.
Antonio Di Natale also scored many more goals in his 30s.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic as well. More.
And Zlatan too. There you
30,
go.
Yeah, there's something there, maybe.
Name check.
Yeah. A proposal to expand the World Cup to 64 teams was raised at the FIFA Council meeting last week. And Gab, they said that they have a duty to analyze it. Why? Because it's a stupid idea. I can tell you that now.
You don't agree with Ignacio Alonso from Uruguay, who said, who apparently this is kind of like in the any other business part of the meeting. It wasn't on the agenda, supposedly.
Okay.
How
long will it be that World Cup? 6 months?
A 64-team World Cup?
Yeah, like how long would that take? 2.5 months?
I think they can study different formats. You could have 2 32-team World Cups playing, like they could play the group stages concurrently, maybe in Europe and in South America, because remember, of course, Paraguay, Argentina, and Uruguay are sharing the World Cup with
they're sharing the opening couple of days or something?
Maybe they should share an entire group stage, and then you could have 64 teams.
So what, we'd have six games per day through the whole day because of the time difference and everything?
Yeah, the time difference allows you to do that. Wouldn't that be cool?
I mean, like no sleep at all and 6 football matches a day. I'm in, but come on.
No. All right.
Definitely.
So I think they do have a duty to analyze it in the sense that they don't want to say, like, this is kind of unfair to FIFA a little bit, right? So this guy comes out and says it. They can't just say that he's a moron. Like, just shut him up. He just wants more games, more money for his FA. We're not taking this seriously. So they can't come out and say that.
Yeah.
So they say, well, like any proposal, we're a democratic institution. So from the FIFA Council member says that we have to analyze it. But like secretly, you know that they're just laughing.
Yeah.
At least I hope so. At least I hope.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope so too. You never know.
Jules, this brings us to an end. But we have another show on Thursday. You can't join us, so hopefully Stuart Robson can join us.
With you, yeah.
Yes. Until then, love the game, love your neighbor, love yourself.